Wild lies and vicious vows. Chapter 1: Forced marriage. The city night of Los Angeles was dazzling and cold. In the top-floor luxury study of the Ryder Group, the neon lights outside the window fell on Kane Ryder's cold and sharp facial features. At the age of 29, he controlled the entire West Coast's financial lifeline. He was famous for being cold-blooded, decisive, and never soft-hearted to anyone. I stood in front of his desk, my fingers tightly clutching the corner of my dress, my heart beating violently. My name is Scarlett Hale. Today, I was forced to marry the man who once destroyed my family's business, Kane Ryder. Your father's company is on the verge of bankruptcy, and the only person who can save the Hale family is me. Kane's voice was low and cold, without any warmth. He leaned back in the leather chair, his deep black eyes staring at me indifferently, like looking at a dispensable commodity. 1 year. Marry me, and I'll inject capital to save your family. During the marriage, you must be obedient, keep your duty as Mrs. Ryder, and never take the initiative to ask for anything from me. I raised my head, my eyes slightly red. Mr. Ryder, you hate our family so much. Why do you want to marry me? A cold, sarcastic smile appeared on his thin lips. Marrying you is the best punishment for the Hale family. His words were ruthless and straightforward. 3 years ago, your father hurt my Serena. He ruined her reputation and forced her to leave the country. Now I take his most precious daughter as my wife. Let him watch his daughter trapped by my side for a lifetime. Isn't it fair? My whole body turned cold in an instant. Serena. The name that Kane Ryder kept in his heart for 3 years, his unique white moonlight. I had never met Serena, and I had never participated in any of the disputes 3 years ago. But I had to bear all the sins for my father. I'm innocent. I whispered hoarsely. Kane stood up suddenly, his tall body pressing towards me, the powerful sense of oppression making me hold my breath. Innocent. He grabbed my chin fiercely, his eyes cold and cruel. No one in the Hale family is innocent. From the day you were born, you owe her. The pain on my chin made my eyes shed tears uncontrollably. He hated me, hated my blood, hated my family. And I was going to marry him tomorrow, becoming the most ridiculous Mrs. Ryder in the upper-class circle. I agree. I closed my eyes tightly, and my voice trembled with helplessness. I marry you. Kane let go of his hand, his expression still cold and heartless. Remember your identity. You are just a tool for me to get revenge. Don't covet my love, don't have delusions. My heart only belongs to Serena. Once she comes back, I will divorce you immediately. Chapter 2: Misunderstanding and Scheming. The wedding was grand and desolate. All the celebrities in Los Angeles attended, but no one blessed us. Everyone knew that this marriage was a revenge game, and I was the poor victim trapped in the game. Kane wore a black suit, cold and elegant the whole time. He never smiled, never looked at me, as if I was just a transparent decoration by his side. After the wedding, at the banquet, my best friend Lena took the initiative to walk to my side, holding a glass of red wine. Scarlett, congratulations on your marriage. She smiled gently, but her eyes were full of calculation that I couldn't detect. I trusted her wholeheartedly. She was my only best friend since childhood. Thank you. I took the wine glass casually, and drank half of it in a relaxed mood. But I didn't know that the wine had been mixed with medicine. Soon, my whole body became weak and hot, and my consciousness began to blur. At this moment, Jasper Ryder appeared. He was Kane's cousin, the most gentle man in the entire upper class. He had always been kind to me and protected me secretly. Seeing me staggering, he immediately stepped forward to support me. Scarlett, are you okay? I couldn't stand steadily, so I could only lean weakly in his arms. This scene fell completely in Kane's eyes, who just turned around. The man's black eyes instantly turned dark and violent. He strode over, pushed Jasper away fiercely, and grabbed my wrist forcefully. His voice was low and furious, every word filled with disgust. "On your wedding night, you hook up with my cousin privately. Scarlett, you are really shameless." My brain was chaotic, and I wanted to explain, but I had no strength at all. Lena stood aside, pretending to be anxious and wronged, and whispered deliberately, "Mr. Ryder, don't blame Scarlett. She just drank too much. But she has always been close to Jasper. Everyone knows that." One sentence completely nailed me to the crime of cheating on my wedding night. Kane's eyes were covered with violent storm. He dragged me brutally all the way back to the wedding room, threw me on the cold bed, and looked down at me with scarlet eyes. "So all your obedience and compromise are fake? You married me just to get close to my family and hook up with my brother." I struggled to shake my head, tears sliding down my cheeks. "No. Kane, it's not like this." I was framed. But he didn't listen to any explanation. In his eyes, all my words were pale excuses. He leaned down, his voice cold and heartless. "Since you are so hungry for love, I will satisfy you. But remember, from today on, you are the dirtiest Mrs. Ryder in my heart." Chapter 3: Cold Bed and Endless Humiliation. The huge wedding suite was luxurious, yet colder than an ice cellar. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire night view of Beverly Hills. The crystal chandelier shed brilliant light, but every ray of light falling on me was sharp and humiliating. The medicine in my body was still raging, burning my skin and messing up my reason. I curled up on the soft velvet bed, my whole body trembling slightly, tears blurring my vision. Kane stood at the end of the bed, his tall figure enveloped in thick darkness. He took off his tie slowly, his movements cold and elegant, but every line of his face was filled with bone-chilling indifference. "You have been pretending to be innocent and weak in front of me these days." He chuckled mockingly, the sound piercing my eardrums. "I thought you were different from your greedy, vicious father. Turns out, every Hale is born hypocritical." I bit my lower lip hard, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth. I tried my best to gather my scattered consciousness, wanting to clear up the misunderstanding. "I have never taken the initiative to get close to Jasper. Tonight is an accident." Lena gave me the wine. There is something wrong with that wine. My voice was weak and hoarse, almost inaudible. Kane stepped forward suddenly, his leather shoes stepping on the carpet without a sound, but every step pressed heavily on my heart. He knelt on one knee on the bed, one hand pinching my jaw again, forcing me to look straight at his cold, piercing eyes. "Lena. Your best friend." He sneered disdainfully. "You want to push all the blame on your friend. Scarlett, your lying skills are getting more and more sophisticated. Lena has been by your side for more than 10 years. Everyone in the circle knows she is loyal to you. Why would she frame you? What benefit can she get?" I was stunned, speechless for a moment. Yes, what benefit could Lena get? I had always thought she was my closest person, the only person who would stand by me in my hardest days. I never doubted her, never thought about her motives. But the burning heat in my body, the blurred consciousness, and the perfectly timed appearance of Jasper all proved that this was a premeditated trap. I just had no way to prove my innocence. Seeing my silence, Kane's anger became even stronger. He thought I was acquiescing to all the charges. "You dare not speak. Because it's the truth." His voice dropped, cold and cruel. "You married me for your family's money and status, but you keep ambiguous with Jasper privately. You want to have everything, don't you?" "No." I shook my head violently, tears rolling down rapidly. I don't want anything from your family. I only agreed to marry you to save my dad's company. I have no feelings for Jasper at all. Feelings? Cain laughed bitterly, his eyes filled with deep disgust. Do you think I care about your cheap feelings? The only thing I care about is Serena. I keep you by my side just to torture the Hale family. Don't flatter yourself. His every word was a sharp blade, cutting my fragile heart into pieces little by little. I had known from the beginning that this marriage was a scam, a punishment, a cage. But I still couldn't stop the sour pain spreading from the bottom of my heart. I had never expected his love, but I didn't want to bear such unwarranted charges and endless humiliation. The medicine in my body became more and more violent. I couldn't control my body's reaction, and my breathing became rapid and disordered. I subconsciously reached out and grabbed Cain's sleeve, my brows tightly furrowed, and I begged in a low voice, "Cain, please, trust me just once." The moment my fingers touched his clothes, he shook off my hand fiercely as if he had touched some dirty thing. "Don't touch me." His tone was icy cold, with obvious repulsion. "Your body is already stained. I don't want to be contaminated with your filth." My hand froze in mid-air, and the last trace of warmth in my heart was completely extinguished. I stared at him blankly, watching the man I had compromised and endured for, looking at me with eyes full of loathing and contempt. At this moment, I finally understood. In his world, there was no truth, no explanation, only prejudice against the Hale family. Even if I was innocent in his eyes, I was guilty. He stood up, took a step back, and looked down at my embarrassed and weak appearance, his expression cold and indifferent. "From tonight on, you live in this room. Don't take the initiative to appear in front of me, don't take the initiative to contact Jasper, and don't give me any reason to hate you more. If you dare to mess around again, I will withdraw all capital immediately and let the Hale family go bankrupt completely. I will let your father spend his whole life in debt and regret." After throwing down this harsh warning, Cain turned and left the wedding room without looking back. The heavy door closed with a bang, isolating all the light and warmth outside. The huge room was completely silent, only my broken sobs echoing in the empty space. I lay on the cold bed, hugging my knees tightly, crying until my body trembled uncontrollably. My wedding night was not romantic, not sweet, only endless humiliation, misunderstanding and despair. I didn't know how long I cried until my eyes were swollen and sore, and my consciousness gradually became blurred again. Before I fell into a coma, the only thought in my mind was, "This year of marriage will be the longest and most painful torture of my life." Chapter 4: The Silent Protection of the Second Male Lead. The next morning, I woke up from a splitting headache. The sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, shining on the luxurious and unfamiliar furnishings of the room, making me feel extremely unreal. Last night's grievance, pain and humiliation flooded back instantly, making my eyes sore again. I sat up slowly, my whole body weak and sore, and the memory of Cain's cold and loathing eyes kept replaying in my mind, piercing my heart repeatedly. I got out of bed with difficulty, walked to the bathroom, and looked at my pale and haggard face in the mirror. My eyes were red and swollen, my lips were broken and pale, and there were faint finger marks on my jaw, which were the traces left by Cain's forceful grip last night. I raised my hand and gently stroked the mark, and the slight pain reminded me that all this was real. I was trapped in this loveless, hateful marriage, forced to bear the sins I never committed. After washing up briefly, I walked out of the bedroom. The Ryder Manor was huge and quiet. The servants walked gently with their heads down, not daring to make any noise, and their eyes were full of curiosity and caution when they glanced at me. Everyone must have heard about the farce of the wedding night last night. In their eyes, I was a shameless woman who cheated on her wedding night and betrayed her husband. I straightened my back slightly, forcing myself to hold on. I knew that from today on, I had to learn to face all the gossip and stares alone. In the dining room downstairs, Jasper was sitting at the long dining table having breakfast alone. He was wearing a clean white shirt, his hair neatly combed, and his whole body exuded a gentle and warm temperament, completely different from Kane's cold and aggressive aura. When he saw me walking down, he immediately put down his tableware, stood up, and looked at me with gentle concern. "Scarlett, are you feeling better?" His voice was soft, without any judgment or ridicule, only pure concern. My nose turned sour instantly. After suffering all the coldness and grievance last night, his gentle care was like a glimmer of light in the dark abyss. I nodded slightly, my voice hoarse. "I'm fine, thank you." Jasper walked towards me slowly, his eyes carefully looking at my swollen eyes and the faint marks on my jaw, his brows tightening slightly. "Did Kane hurt you last night?" I avoided his gaze silently and didn't answer. There was no need to say more. No one could change Kane's mind, and no one could clear my grievances. Jasper seemed to see my helplessness and sadness. He didn't force me to answer, but just sighed softly. "I know you were wronged last night," he said firmly, his voice low and sincere. "I know your character, Scarlett. You are not that kind of person." My eyes suddenly looked up at him, with obvious surprise in my eyes. Everyone in the upper class believed the rumors, everyone thought I was hypocritical and dissolute. Only Jasper chose to believe me without hesitation. "Last night, I just saw you unsteady and wanted to help you. I didn't expect it to cause such a big misunderstanding." A trace of self-blame flashed in Jasper's eyes. "It's my fault. I should have paid more attention to the occasion." "It's not your fault." I shook my head. "It's Lena, she set me up." Mentioning Lena, my heart was full of coldness and disappointment. I had trusted her with all my heart, shared all my joys and sorrows with her, regarded her as my only best friend, but she stabbed me hardest at my most vulnerable moment. Jasper's eyes darkened slightly, and there was a faint coldness in his gentle eyes. "I have long felt that Lena's attitude towards you is not simple. She has always been jealous of you, jealous of your family background, jealous of everything you have. It's just that you are too kind and never notice the darkness in others' hearts." I was stunned. Jealousy. I had never thought about it that way. I always thought we were equal and sincere friends. "Don't worry." Jasper looked at me firmly, his tone gentle but powerful. "I will help you investigate this matter clearly. I will let Kane know the truth and clear your name." Looking at his warm and sincere eyes, my heart was filled with unspeakable touch. In this cold and strange manner, in this desperate marriage, Jasper was the only person who gave me warmth and trust. But I also knew clearly that his kindness to me would only make Kane's misunderstanding deeper, and make my life more difficult. I bit my lip and whispered, "Don't do this, Jasper. It will only make Kane hate me more." "It doesn't matter. I can bear it." I was tired of explaining, tired of arguing. I just wanted to spend this year peacefully, save my family's company, and then leave completely. Jasper stared at me, his eyes full of heartache. "You don't have to bear all this alone, Scarlett. You deserve kindness and tenderness, not endless coldness and wronged." His words gently touched the softest part of my heart, and tears almost slipped down again. At this moment, a cold and deep voice suddenly came from the entrance of the dining room. "It seems that you two are really inseparable." Kane stood at the door, his tall figure blocking the sunlight. His black eyes were dark and violent, staring at us who were standing close together, and the whole air was instantly filled with strong hostility and coldness. His tailored black suit made him look sharp and terrifying, every line on his face cold with suppressed rage. He had obviously stood there for a long time, watching Jasper and me talk intimately. My body stiffened instantly. The warm touch that had just spread in my heart vanished in an instant, replaced by boundless cold panic. Jasper's expression also turned slightly serious, but he did not step back. Instead, he stood slightly in front of me, protecting me subtly. "Kane, don't misunderstand. I was just concerned about Scarlett's physical condition." Jasper's voice was calm and gentle, without any fear of Kane's anger. Kane walked forward step by step, his leather shoes hitting the marble floor with a low, heavy sound, like a death knell beating on my heart. "Concern?" he sneered, his eyes sweeping coldly over me, then falling back on Jasper. "My cousin, you are really generous. You even take the initiative to care about your brother's wife." The sarcasm in his words was undisguised, sharp and piercing. "Kane, I'm just telling the truth. Scarlett was framed last night. She's innocent." Jasper insisted stubbornly. "Innocent?" Kane laughed lowly, the laughter filled with endless cruelty. "In my eyes, she has never been innocent. The moment she stepped into this manor and married me, she was guilty." His gaze locked on me fiercely, every word like a whip lashing my skin. "Scarlett, I warned you last night. Don't touch my people, don't give me reasons to hate you. But you can't wait to hook up with Jasper early in the morning. Are you really so hungry for favor?" I raised my head abruptly, my eyes red with grievance and anger. "I didn't." "Kane, can you stop being so arbitrary? Can you listen to me for once?" "Listen to you?" He leaned over suddenly, approaching me rapidly, the icy breath on his face sweeping over my cheeks. "Every word you say is a lie. I have no patience to listen to your sophistry." He reached out suddenly, grabbed my wrist violently, and dragged me towards the entrance regardless of my struggle. "Kane." I struggled hard, my wrist pinched painfully. "Let me go." "What are you doing? Since you like to be watched so much, I'll let everyone see how dissolute my Mrs. Ryder is." His voice was cold and ruthless. Jasper quickly stepped forward to stop him, his tone anxious. "Kane, let her go. Don't hurt her. This is between you two, don't make it ugly. Get out of my way." Kane's eyes turned fierce, and the gentleness between the brothers disappeared completely. "Jasper, don't meddle in my business. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you." The atmosphere between the two brothers froze instantly. The gentle surface was completely torn apart, leaving only cold confrontation. Jasper did not back down, his eyes firm. "I won't let you wrong her." "Wrong her?" Kane laughed angrily, dragging me harder. "I wronged her. Let her tell everyone herself how many ambiguous tricks she played behind my back." I was dragged all the way, my steps staggering, and the tears in my eyes finally fell uncontrollably. I felt so wronged and powerless. No matter what I said, no one believed me. All my explanations were feeble in front of Kane's prejudice. Kane dragged me to the hall of the manor. Many servants were cleaning and working. When they saw us, they all stopped their movements and looked over curiously. All eyes were focused on me, full of gossip, contempt and ridicule. My face turned pale instantly, and I wanted to hide, but Kane's grip on my wrist was like iron shackles, making me unable to move at all. "Look clearly." Kane raised my wrist forcefully, forcing me to stand straight, his voice cold and loud, spreading throughout the hall. "This is your young mistress, Scarlett Ryder. On her wedding night, she hooked up with my cousin. From today on, anyone in the manor who sees her approaching Jasper can report to me directly. No need to give her any face, no need to respect her. She doesn't deserve it." Every word was a sharp knife, stripping off all my dignity in front of everyone. The servants' whispers and rustling discussions sounded immediately, one after another piercing my eardrums. No wonder Mr. Kane is so cold to her, she's really shameless. Married into the Ryder family, but still ambiguous with the second young master, how bold. It's no pity to be wronged, she asked for it herself. I stood in the center of the hall, surrounded by countless mocking gazes, my whole body cold and trembling, tears blurring my entire vision. I bit my lip hard, forcing myself not to cry or collapse. I told myself repeatedly that I had to hold on, for my family, for my father's company. Jasper chased after him, his face extremely ugly. He stood in front of me again, blocking all the mocking sights for me. Enough, Kane. You've humiliated her enough. Jasper's voice turned cold, no longer gentle as before. You're just torturing her with your prejudice. You're not a man at all. Kane's eyes turned colder, and the hostility between the two brothers became more intense. I warn you one last time, Jasper. Stay away from my wife. If you dare to touch her again, I will completely cut off all brotherhood with you. After saying that, Kane suddenly pushed me away heavily. I couldn't stand steadily, my body staggered back a few steps, and finally fell heavily on the cold marble floor. The pain from my knees spread all over my body, but it was far less painful than the despair in my heart. Kane glanced at my embarrassed fallen appearance indifferently, without any fluctuation in his eyes, no pity, no heartache, only endless indifference. Remember your position thoroughly today. He dropped the last cold sentence, then turned and left the manor directly. The luxurious hall was quiet again, only I was left sitting on the ground in a mess, and Jasper who was full of heartache. Jasper quickly knelt down and helped me up carefully, for fear of hurting me again. Scarlett, are you okay? Does it hurt? His voice was distressed and gentle. I shook my head numbly, tears still flowing uncontrollably. Jasper, why doesn't he believe me at all? My voice was hoarse and broken, like a broken string. Jasper looked at my tear-streaked face, his eyes full of helplessness and heartache. Because Serena is his obsession. For 3 years, all his tenderness and trust have been given to that woman. He has no extra sincerity for anyone else. As long as it's related to Serena, he will lose all reason. He will never listen to any explanation from the Hale family. I lowered my head, looking at the faint bruise on my knee, and my heart was completely dead. So this is my marriage. No trust, no tenderness, no dignity, only endless misunderstanding, humiliation and torture. Chapter 5: The Scheming Best Friend's False Consolation. In the afternoon of the same day, Lena took the initiative to come to the Ryder Manor to visit me. She was still wearing a delicate dress, with a gentle and harmless smile on her face, just like the loyal best friend, who had accompanied me for more than 10 years. If I hadn't experienced the frame-up last night, I would still be fooled by her disguise. I sat on the sofa in the living room, my eyes swollen badly, my face pale and haggard, without any trace of vitality. Lena walked over quickly, sat beside me, and took my hand affectionately, with a worried look on her face. Scarlett, I heard what happened this morning. Are you okay? Did Kane bully you again? Her tone was anxious and concerned, perfectly hiding all her calculations and malice. I pulled my hand back coldly, no longer having any trust in her. Lena's smile froze slightly, but she quickly adjusted her expression and continued to pretend to be wronged and worried. Scarlett, what's wrong with you? Why are you ignoring me? Did I do something wrong to make you angry? I raised my head, my eyes cold and clear, staring straight at her hypocritical face. Last night's wine, did you drug it? The moment the words fell, Lena's eyes flashed with a flustered panic, but she quickly covered it up. Scarlett, what are you talking about? How could I do that to you? I'm your best friend. She immediately showed a hurt expression, her eyes red. You've been wronged and confused, so you're doubting me now, right? I've been with you for more than 10 years. I've always been on your side. How could I frame you? What benefit would I get from hurting you? Her words were reasonable, and her expression was sincere and aggrieved, making people unable to find any flaws. If it were me before, I would definitely apologize to her immediately, thinking that I had wronged a good friend. But after experiencing last night's despair, I was completely awake. No benefit. I sneered softly, my voice cold. You like Jasper, right? You've liked him for many years. This is the only answer I can think of. Lena has always envied me. She envies that I was born in a wealthy family, envies that I have everything she can't get, and envies that Jasper has always been gentle and indulgent to me. So she took the opportunity to frame me, let Cain misunderstand me completely, let me lose all dignity in the Ryder family, and let Jasper feel distressed and pity for me. In this way, she can take the opportunity to get close to Jasper and replace me. Lena's face turned pale in an instant, and the disguise on her face was almost impossible to maintain. But she still refused to admit it, shaking her head repeatedly. You're talking nonsense. I don't like Jasper. Scarlett, you're really crazy from grievance. Am I crazy? I stared at her sharply. You know best in your heart what you have done. Last night, only you gave me wine. Only you knew I would drink it without suspicion. Only you could calculate the time perfectly, and let Jasper appear just right to create a misunderstanding. All of this is your premeditated plan, Lena. Faced with my thorough analysis, Lena finally couldn't pretend anymore. The gentle and worried expression on her face completely faded, replaced by a cold and jealous smile. Since you've guessed it all, I don't need to pretend anymore. Her voice turned cold and vicious, completely different from her previous gentle appearance. Yes, I did it. I drugged the wine, I deliberately let Jasper approach you, and I deliberately let Cain see that scene. I looked at her true face, and my heart was completely cold and disappointed. Why? We've been friends for more than 10 years. My voice trembled slightly, with endless sadness. Friends. Lena laughed mockingly, her eyes full of crazy jealousy. Do you really think we are equal friends? Scarlett, you were born with a golden spoon in your mouth. You have a wealthy family, a superior life, and everyone's preference. What do I have? I have been humble by your side for more than 10 years, watching you shine brightly all the time, while I can only be your foil. Jasper has always only looked at you. No matter how hard I try, he never sees me. I'm not reconciled. You are already married to Cain. You have the status of Mrs. Ryder. Why do you still occupy Jasper's tenderness? Why do you still have everything? Her jealousy was crazy and distorted, making her look hideous. I stared at her in disbelief, never thought that the friend, who had been with me for more than 10 years, would have such a terrible malice hidden in her heart. I never robbed you of anything. Jasper's kindness to me is just ordinary friendship. I have never had any unreasonable thoughts about him. I defended weakly. It's too late to say that now. Lena stood up, her eyes cold and cruel. Now everyone thinks you are a dissolute and hypocritical woman. Cain hates you to the bone. No one will believe your explanation anymore. You will be trapped in this cold marriage forever, suffering endless torture and grievance. And I will stay by Jasper's side, slowly replacing your position. Scarlett, this is your retribution for being favored by everyone. After saying these cruel words, Lena turned and left without looking back, leaving me sitting alone on the sofa, cold and desperate. The 10-year friendship was completely broken in an instant, leaving only piercing betrayal and pain. Chapter 6: Cold Night, Solitude and Hidden Heartache. The night fell again. The entire Ryder Manor was shrouded in deep darkness, quiet and cold, without any warmth. Cain did not come back all night. The servant sent me a cold dinner on time, placed it on the table respectfully, and left quickly without daring to communicate with me more. Now in the entire manor, I am the most lonely and unpopular person. No one is willing to approach me, no one dares to talk to me, everyone is avoiding me, discriminating against me. I sat alone at the long dining table, staring at the rich meals in front of me, but I had no appetite at all. The food was warm, but my heart was icy cold. I picked up the fork numbly, took a few bites casually, and then put down the tableware completely. After dinner, I returned to the empty bedroom alone. The room was luxurious and spacious, with soft carpets and expensive furniture, but it was like a gorgeous cage, trapping me firmly. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the dim night view outside the window, the neon lights flickering, but they couldn't illuminate the darkness in my heart. I thought of my father's tired and haggard face recently, thought of the crumbling family company, thought of the heavy pressure on my shoulders, and my eyes turned red again. I have no way to retreat. Even if I am wronged, humiliated, misunderstood, betrayed, I can only hold on stubbornly. I can't let my family collapse, can't let my father's hard work for decades be ruined overnight. Just when I was in a daze, the door of the bedroom was suddenly pushed open. Cain walked in from the outside. He was wearing a slightly messy suit, with a faint smell of alcohol and tobacco on his body. It was obvious that he had been drinking outside. His eyes were dark and deep, with a trace of drunken blur, but the coldness in his eyes did not decrease at all. My body stiffened subconsciously, and my heart suddenly tensed up, filled with unease and fear. I didn't know what mood he was in tonight, and what kind of humiliation and torture he would give me. Cain stood at the door, staring straight at me, his eyes deep and unclear. "Are you waiting for me?" His voice was low and hoarse, with a faint smell of alcohol. I shook my head silently, not daring to answer casually. He walked forward step by step, approaching me slowly, the oppressive aura wrapping me tightly again. "Why don't you speak?" "Guilty." He stopped in front of me, his tall figure completely covering me. I raised my head slightly, my eyes clear and stubborn even though they were red. "I have nothing to be guilty of. I didn't do anything wrong." Cain stared at my stubborn eyes for a long time, and a trace of complicated emotion flashed in his deep eyes, but it disappeared quickly, replaced by cold ridicule. Still quibbling. He suddenly raised his hand, his fingertips brushing lightly over the bruise on my knee through the thin fabric of the dress. The touch was slightly cold and gentle, completely different from his previous brutal strength. I was stunned instantly, my body stiff and unconsciously holding my breath. What is he doing? Is he pitying me? This idea just popped up in my mind, and I quickly denied it. How could a man who hates me to the bone pity me? Cain's fingertips stayed on my bruise for 2 seconds. Then he withdrew his hand abruptly, as if he was irritated by his own gaffe. His expression turned cold again, and his voice became ruthless once more. "This injury is your own fault. If you didn't hook up with Jasper again and again, you wouldn't be humiliated and injured. All the slight tenderness just now was like an illusion, disappearing without a trace." I lowered my eyes, hiding the faint disappointment in my heart, and said nothing. I should have known long ago that he would never be soft to me. Cain walked to the bed and sat down, leaning his body back lazily, his eyes dark and deep, staring at me quietly. "Come here," he ordered coldly. I hesitated for a second, then walked over slowly with heavy steps. When I stood in front of him, he suddenly reached out and grabbed my waist, pulling me down heavily. I lost my balance instantly and fell directly on his lap. My heart jumped violently, and I subconsciously wanted to struggle and get up. Don't move. Kane's voice was low and dangerous, with a strong possessiveness. If you move again, I don't know what I will do. His arms were strong and powerful, locking my waist tightly, making me unable to break free at all. I could only stiffen my body, leaning on his lap awkwardly and nervously, my heart beating fast. The distance between us was extremely close, and I could clearly smell the faint alcohol and cold cedar scent on his body. This kind of intimate contact made me flustered and at a loss. Kane stared at my flustered and shy face, his eyes getting deeper and deeper, and his Adam's apple rolled slightly. Scarlett. He suddenly called my name in a low voice, his tone rare and gentle. Do you hate me? I was stunned, never thought he would ask such a question. Hate him? I don't know. I hate his arbitrariness, his prejudice, his indifference, his unscrupulous humiliation to me. But occasionally, I can feel his faint, imperceptible softness, which makes me unable to hate completely. I raised my eyes, looked straight into his deep eyes, and answered softly, I don't hate you. I just feel wronged. Kane's body froze slightly, and his eyes flashed with complicated emotions that I couldn't understand. He stared at my eyes for a long time, so long that I thought he would soften his heart and listen to my explanation. But in the end, he just let out a low cold laugh, and his arms holding my waist tightened suddenly. Wronged. All your grievances are self-inflicted. Remember, I will never soften my heart to you. No matter how wronged you are, no matter how miserable you are, it's all the price the Hale family should pay. His words broke all the illusions in my heart completely. I closed my eyes tightly, forcing back the tears in my eyes, and my heart became colder and colder. Yes, how can I delusionally expect tenderness from a man who only has revenge and white moonlight in his heart? From tonight on, I will completely give up all useless expectations. I will endure all the grievances silently, wait for the one-year marriage to end, and then leave completely, never having any intersection with him again. Chapter 7: The First Crack in Kane's Prejudice. The next morning, I woke up early. Kane had already left the bedroom early, leaving only the cold quilt beside him, proving that he had stayed here last night. I got up quietly, washed and dressed, and planned to go downstairs to have breakfast quietly. I thought I would continue to endure the cold stares and alienation of the servants, but what I didn't expect was that the attitudes of the servants towards me had changed subtly today. They no longer looked at me with contempt and ridicule, but became respectful and cautious again, and even took the initiative to greet me. Good morning, Mrs. Ryder. I was a little confused, not knowing why their attitudes had changed suddenly. Until I walked to the dining room and saw Jasper sitting at the table waiting for me. When he saw me coming, he smiled gently, his eyes full of gentle warmth. You're awake. I've prepared breakfast for you. I walked over suspiciously and sat down. Why are the servants' attitudes suddenly different? Jasper handed me a cup of warm milk, and explained softly, I told them last night that all the rumors are false. I will prove your innocence sooner or later. And I warned them that no one is allowed to disrespect you or gossip about you again, otherwise they will be dismissed directly. I looked at him in surprise, my heart filled with warm touch. In this cold manner, only Jasper has been standing firmly by my side, protecting me silently. Thank you, Jasper. My voice was soft and sincere. You don't need to thank me. Jasper looked at me gently, his eyes full of faint affection that I had never noticed. I just don't want you to be wronged anymore. We were sitting at the dining table eating breakfast quietly, the atmosphere gentle and peaceful. But we didn't know that Kane stood at the entrance of the dining room again, watching this scene silently. He had just returned from the company, planning to go back to the bedroom to get documents, but he saw this warm and harmonious scene. The woman he had been torturing and cold-shouldering was sitting at the dining table peacefully, eating breakfast with his cousin, with a faint, relaxed smile on her face that he had never seen before. A strong, unreasonable irritability suddenly surged in Kane's heart. He clearly hated her, clearly wanted to torture her, but at this moment, seeing her getting along well with Jasper, he felt extremely uncomfortable. It was a strange, uncontrollable possessiveness, a crack in his long-established prejudice. He stood in the shadow at the door, his eyes dark and obscure, and no one could detect his complicated mood. He watched the faint smile on my face, watched Jasper's gentle eyes towards me, and the anger in his heart became more and more intense. He thought coldly in his heart, she is really shameless. She can smile so happily after being humiliated. She really relies on Jasper's protection, and becomes unscrupulous. But deep in his heart, there was a faint voice questioning him, is she really wrong? For 3 years, he has only listened to Serena's one-sided words, only believed that the Hale family hurt his white moonlight, and never seriously investigated the truth of that year. He only knew to vent all his hatred on Scarlett, but he never saw her grievance and persistence. This is the first time that Kane's firm prejudice has a faint crack. But he quickly suppressed this strange emotion, attributed all the discomfort to anger, and turned around to leave coldly before we found him. He didn't want to admit that his heart was shaking for this innocent wronged girl. He didn't want to admit that he was gradually caring about his revenge too. His heart should only belong to Serena, forever. But the more he suppressed it, the more obvious the strange throbbing in his heart became. The seeds of doubt and heartache have quietly taken root in his heart, waiting for the day when they break through the soil and bloom. Chapter 8: The Return of the White Moonlight. 3 days later, the whole of Los Angeles' upper-class circle exploded with a piece of news. Serena Voss, the woman who had disappeared for 3 years, and was regarded as Kane Ryder's eternal white moonlight, returned to Los Angeles. The moment I heard the news, my hands holding the teacup trembled slightly, and the warm tea almost spilled on my clothes. My heart sank to the bottom instantly. I knew that the peaceful days I had barely endured were coming to an end. The woman Kane had missed for 3 years, the person he loved the most, the existence that determined all my sins, was back. In the afternoon, Kane took the initiative to return to the manor for the first time in these days. He changed his usual cold and gloomy appearance. There was a faint trace of eagerness and joy in his eyes, which was the tenderness I had never seen before. He stood in the living room, his eyes swept over me indifferently, without any warmth, as if I was just a dispensable piece of furniture in this house. "Pack up your things tonight," he said coldly, without any emotion. I looked up at him, my heart tight and painful. "What do you mean?" "Serena is back." Kane's voice softened unconsciously when he mentioned that name, completely different from his attitude towards me. "I'm going to pick her up and bring her back to the manor. You move out of the master bedroom and live in the remote guest room on the 2nd floor. Don't appear in front of her, don't disturb her, don't let her see you." Every word was a blunt stab at my heart. He was afraid that my existence would upset his white moonlight. He was afraid that the woman he loved would see the wife he married for revenge and feel wronged. I stared at him, my eyes gradually turning red, and my voice trembling slightly. "Kane, we are legally married. I am Mrs. Ryder in name." "A false name." Kane sneered disdainfully, his eyes cold again. "Don't take this ridiculous identity seriously. You are just a temporary tool. Now that Serena is back, your usefulness is almost gone. Bear with it for a few more months. When I settle everything for Serena, I will divorce you immediately and let your family go." His words were ruthless and straightforward, completely stripping away all my illusions. I lowered my head, hid the tears in my eyes, and nodded numbly, "Okay." I had expected this result long ago, but when it really came, I still couldn't stop the sour pain in my heart. Kane didn't have any extra words for me. After giving the order, he turned around and left in a hurry, going to pick up his beloved white moonlight. Looking at his hurried back, I stood alone in the empty living room, and the cold wind from the window swept over my cheeks, biting cold. In the evening, Serena came to the Ryder Manor. She was wearing a long white dress, with soft long hair and a delicate and pale face. She was gentle and weak, like a fragile porcelain doll, which made people want to protect her. No wonder Cain missed her for 3 years, and was willing to take revenge for her. She was beautiful, gentle, and pitiful, completely different from my stubborn and tough appearance. Cain held her arm carefully, his eyes full of doting tenderness that I had never seen before. He personally helped her carry her luggage, personally arranged everything for her, and his whole person was gentle to the extreme. Serena leaned gently on Cain's side, her eyes soft, but when she glanced at me standing in the corner, there was a faint trace of calculation and coldness in her eyes that was fleeting. "Cain, who is this?" she asked softly, pretending to be confused and innocent. Cain held her shoulder tightly, blocked her sight of me, and said in a cold and perfunctory tone, "A distant relative's daughter, staying in the manor temporarily." He even refused to admit my identity as his wife in front of her. I stood silently in the corner, like an insignificant outsider, watching their affectionate and intimate appearance, and my heart was riddled with holes. Serena smiled gently, her eyes curved softly. "So that's it. She looks very quiet. It's good to have someone accompanying you in the manor." Her words sounded gentle and kind, but they were secretly testing my position. Cain pinched her cheek dotingly, his tone extremely gentle. "Don't worry, no one can accompany me except you. She's just a passerby." Passerby. The 2 words were deeply engraved in my heart, making my whole body cold and stiff. I didn't stay any longer, turned around silently, and walked towards the remote guest room on the 2nd floor. The guest room was small and simple, far less luxurious than the master bedroom. The windows were facing the cold backyard, with no beautiful night view, only cold and desolate trees. But it was more suitable for me. After all, I was never the mistress of this manor, just a temporary passerby. Late at night, I lay on the cold bed, unable to fall asleep for a long time. The sound of gentle conversation and faint laughter came from the master bedroom not far away. It was the tenderness and warmth that I had never enjoyed in this marriage. They were talking about the past 3 years, talking about the days when they missed each other, talking about the future that belonged only to them. I curled up on the bed, covered my ears tightly, and tears soaked the pillow silently. For 3 years, Cain's hatred was for me, his tenderness was for her, his marriage was a deal, and his love was exclusive to Serena. I had nothing from the beginning to the end. Chapter 9: Deliberate Framing and Growing Doubt. After Serena returned to the manor, my life became more and more difficult. She was gentle and kind on the surface, winning the love of all the servants and Cain's exclusive doting, but she secretly targeted me everywhere. She would pretend to accidentally knock over the red wine on my clothes, and then apologize gently, making me look aggressive if I was angry. She would secretly hide the documents that Cain needed, and falsely accuse me of hiding them on purpose, saying that I was jealous of her and wanted to sabotage their relationship. Every time, Cain would believe her without hesitation, accuse me severely, and treat me colder and more alienated. On this day, Serena suddenly had a high fever in the middle of the night. The whole manor was in chaos. Cain personally sent her to the private hospital, leaving only a few servants and me in the empty manor. Late at night, when I was about to go back to my room to rest, I received a strange call. The caller claimed to be a staff member of the hospital, saying that Serena's condition was critical, and she was talking nonsense, and she kept mentioning the truth of the accident 3 years ago, asking me to go to the hospital immediately. My heart tightened instantly. The truth 3 years ago. This was the biggest misunderstanding between Cain and me, the root of all hatred. Without thinking too much, I took a taxi and rushed to the private hospital. But when I rushed to the ward, Serena was lying on the bed with a pale face, but her consciousness was clear, and there was no critical condition at all. And Cain was standing by the bed, his face extremely cold and gloomy, staring straight at me with murderous eyes. I froze at the door, instantly realizing that I had fallen into her trap again. "You're here." Cain's voice was cold and dangerous, like a blade about to cut people. Serena looked at me weakly, her eyes red and wronged, and said softly, "Scarlett, did you come here on purpose? I know you hate me for occupying Cain's heart, hate me for coming back. But please don't hurt me, okay?" I stared at her hypocritical appearance, my heart cold and angry. "I didn't come to hurt you. I received a call saying your condition was critical." "There is no such call at all." Cain interrupted me sharply, striding over and grabbing my arm violently, his eyes scarlet with anger. "Scarlett, are you crazy? You actually took advantage of Serena's illness to come to the hospital to threaten her. You hate her so much, you want to drive her away, you want to hurt her, don't you?" I shook my head violently, tears rolling down. "No. Cain, I didn't." I was framed again. "It's her design." "Enough." Cain's voice was furious, and he pushed me away heavily. I stumbled back a few steps, my back hitting the cold wall heavily, and a sharp pain spread from my back. "You are still lying." Cain stared at me disappointedly and coldly. "Serena has been so kind to you, never blamed you for occupying her position, never made things difficult for you, but you are so vicious. I really underestimated your greed and cruelty." Serena lay on the bed, watching me being wronged and accused, the corners of her mouth hidden under the quilt raised a faint triumphant smile. She continued to pretend to be weak and persuade softly, "Cain, don't blame Scarlett too much. She may just be confused. After all, your marriage with her is indeed an obstacle between us." Her words seemed to be interceding for me, but they were actually adding fuel to the fire, reminding Cain all the time that my existence was an obstacle between them. Cain's eyes became colder and more determined to divorce me. He looked at me coldly and said word by word, "From today on, don't appear in front of Serena again. If you dare to hurt her again, I will make the entire Hale family disappear from Los Angeles completely."